Welcome to the Heart of Giving. I have to tell you, I just love bringing these nonprofits to you. Just hearing them talk and hearing the commitment and the joy that they get just seems to spread joy to others. And so today, as always, there's no problem at all in what we're going to be talking about because they do exactly that. And our first segment today is with the Guidance Center. And Patrice Gonzalez is here and Tim Saylor. And I'm going to let you ask Tim to talk in just a minute, but let's start with you.
Okay.
The Guidance Center could be so many things. And you need to let us know, because just talking to you, the scope of the problems that you deal with and the type of students that you would have would just be so difficult to help, but so needed in the community. So tell us what the Guidance Center does.
Thank you for asking that. I know our name doesn't always specify it, but we provide mental health services to kids in our community who desperately need the help and who without us would have no place else to go. Children who are in the foster system, who've been abused, who are homeless, who were drug exposed, horrific stories that we hear. And we serve 2,400 of them every year, and they come to us and we help them to find hope.
What you just said covers so many things. And when you say that it's with mental problems, it's situational problems that they have. It isn't necessarily, well, it is, it's all in the head.
Well,
but I mean, their existence has made them have the problems that you face.
correct. That's very much true. With kids' mental health services, they do have what we would call a mental health diagnosis, but their circumstances are what bring them to us. And you know, it's not surprising that a child would have traumatic symptoms or be very depressed if they've been abused and they're in and out of the foster care system. So yes, we do have a mental health diagnosis and we do help them with all of that, but really it's very often their lives that have brought them to us.
To the world in the right way.
Correct.
I see.
Correct.
Now, you have a new location.
We do.
And I need to know how long you've been in the city and when you moved and how you got there and the support you get. So just start.
The new building's my favorite story right now. We've been in Long Beach since 1946, actually. We have a
Has it always had this name, the Guidance Center?
No, it was Psychiatric Services for Youth originally, and then the Greater Long Beach Child Guidance Center, and then the Guidance Center.
Okay.
But we were housed at Miller Children's Hospital for many, many years. And then the demand for our services was so great, we just significantly outgrew that building and had 4 different locations in Long Beach, as well as Compton, San Pedro, and Catalina. But we really didn't have a visible enough presence, and we weren't in the heart of the community that we serve. So for 3 years, we were looking for a building that could be our new Long Beach home, where we would be right in the neighborhood that needs us most, where we'd be visible and accessible, and clients would know we were there, and we could have health fairs in the parking lot so they weren't afraid of us. We wanted to really, really be perceived as a neighbor, so that, you know, a mom who needs help with her child, oh, I remember them. I walked past their clinic on my way to the grocery store. So for 3 years we looked for this building, and we finally started construction a little over a year ago and moved in 3 months ago, and it's been just a remarkable experience for us.
And where is it?
It's right on the corner of Anaheim and Pine at 1301 Pine, and you can't miss it.
That's right.
I call it our big green apple. It's very bright green, and you know, I say I wouldn't paint my house that color, but the point was for the kids. The kids love that color. They see it and they have smiles on their faces. And when you walk in the building, there's orange on the wall and green and blue, and the kids feel like when they walk through the doors, oh, this is a place for me. Because it's scary to come to therapy. It's scary to come and to be asked to talk about being homeless or being sexually abused. It's a hard job to come to therapy.
And to reveal yourself.
Yes, yes. And they haven't had life experiences that make them inclined to trust someone. So to have a building that looks so welcoming to them and is so clearly designed for them, I think really helps us with those initial steps of helping them to feel safe there.
What ages do you deal with?
We see from newborns actually to age 18. We include the whole family in treatment, but we do have more and more very, very little ones lately as well. And we have very specialized treatment so we can help them too.
If a mother or family has a child that has behavioral problems, too aggressive, and are those, they would not have the mental problem as much as they would have the behavioral problem?
We see them as well. A very significant portion of our kids come to us because they're getting in trouble. They're getting in lots of trouble at school or at home. And, you know, kids don't sit down and tell you I'm sad, so maybe, or that I'm anxious. So very often it is through their behavior that they tell us. So a child with a behavioral problem may actually have something that's bothering them or worrying them.
And what do you do with a child like that? Or, I mean, the procedure is the same, I'm sure, for all children. You assess them first?
We assess them first. We have an access department. We assess them. We meet with the family. We talk to the child. We talk to the schools. We really try to get a full picture of everything that's gone on. And then we work with the child and the whole family to address the problem, because typically you do need to include the whole family for someone to get well.
And you can introduce Tim to us now, because I know he's president of the board, but we want him to tell us some of the stories that he has. So
I'm very happy to introduce Tim. He's been our board president for 6 years now.
Oh, wow, is that right?
And we have really transformed our agency under his leadership. He's just been amazing. And he first came to us as a volunteer mentor to some of our children, and then joined the board after that. So.
Yeah, I was a mentor in 2000, and then joined the board in 2003.
Now, when you say mentor, what did you do to be a mentor?
I mentored a 12-year-old boy.
I see.
Who was receiving services from the guidance center.
So you have mentors for other children too?
Well, unfortunately, we used to have the program.
Okay.
And then when I became board president, the first thing I had to do was end the program because of lack of funding.
I see.
Which broke my heart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But there were probably around 40 mentors and mentees. And, you know, we were able to be role models to these children and show them things that they had never seen before, very different from their family environment.
So what are you doing now that you haven't got those? What's the service that you provide?
Well, we're still providing the counseling services. It would always be my goal to resurrect the mentoring program, because it's a great way to connect the community to the guidance center. I have a fellow mentor who I hadn't seen in 4 or 5 years approach me at an event and say, I want to contribute again, and now she's on the board. And so it really helps with the community awareness of what the guidance center does and who we help, and you see it firsthand on how you change kids' lives.
And how big is your board?
Our board right now is 18 people, and as Tricia says, we have really strengthen our board by bringing in some community leaders like First Lady Nancy Foster and Mel Marks, who used to run Memorial Care. And
Very good.
really helped us with our strategic planning and culminating in our new building.
That's great. Can you give me an example? I always ask this too late, because the examples of people that you have helped through the program always is so heartwarming. So just tell me about one.
I can tell you about a little girl that we treated. She was born drug exposed. Her parents were heroin addicts, and she was in foster homes for the first 6 years of her life.
6 years.
She'd been in 8 different foster homes by the time she was 6. At that point, her dad worked very, very hard to get clean and sober for her. And so she was returned to him, and they were living together in sober living. But that was a difficult reunification.
Was it with the father and the mother?
No, just the father. The mother's out of the picture. That was a difficult reunification. She was acting out. She had very serious behavioral problems, as you would expect for her history. And he was newly taking on the role of father. So we got them in therapy together. They get individual and family therapy. They have a case manager who helps them with food banks if they need it, or after school programs for the little girl. And they have a parent partner who came in and taught the dad how to cook. Oh. He taught him how to brush her hair in the morning and braid it, because he didn't know how to do that. Taught him some of the basic sort of life skills that he needed. So through this team approach, they're doing just amazingly well now.
Well, I just, you know, it seems like people think, oh, they're just noisy kid, or they're just, you know, they act out. But you really don't know what's bothering to have this happen. And I just love the fact that you're there. And are you open door for anyone that might be listening to come to the place on Pine?
Absolutely. Okay. If we can't help you ourselves, we will find someone who can.
And also, do you have volunteers that you would like? You need volunteers?
Very much so. We need volunteers for this Christmas for, you know, adopt a family. Because not only are these kids suffering from some of these issues, but they're also very, very poor, and they don't have the resources to have a Christmas like the rest of us. But, you know, really, I think the other thing that I want to stress with the Guidance Center is that by helping these kids today at a very early age with their coping skills, we're going to prevent violence in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I thank you very much for being here. It's very revealing, and it's been successful program, I know, because I've had so many people talk to me about this, and then especially since you have your new location. So thank you very much for being here, Pat.
Yeah,
thank you. Well, this has been a good day for us, and I thank you very much for watching.
Hi, I'm Judy Ross. I'm the Executive Director of the Long Beach Nonprofit Partnership, and we are so delighted to be partnering with Beverly O'Neill and PADNet, our new public access television network, with the Heart of Giving. This is an opportunity to really showcase our wonderful nonprofits in our community. The Long Beach Nonprofit Partnership helps nonprofits become strong and sustainable.
Welcome back. Our next segment is one that's very important, I think, for the city of Long Beach. It's not one that is helping children or adults in their daily living. It's something that helps Long Beach. And I think that we need to remember our past so we understand our future and what we need for the future. So I'm delighted to have Julie Bartoletto, who is the Executive Director of the Historical Society in the City of Long Beach, and Dennis McCourt, who's a very active board member, and I'll let him talk also too, but I'm starting with Julie. So Julie, I think that we need to have a touch with our past. Do you think so?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what do you do to make this happen?
Well, I oversee the operations of the Historical Society, and we have a wonderful archive and gallery space on Atlantic Avenue in Bixby Knolls, and there we collect the material history of Long Beach and make the photographs and documents and other things available to the public to do research.
And where do you get your things?
They're donated from individuals. We have materials donated from the city. We have many materials donated recently from the Press Telegram, and just about everywhere.
And what do you do with them?
We build exhibitions around them. We build programming around them, and through all of the programs try to tell people more about Long Beach history and what they can find in our collection.
Well, it seemed to me in the past there was a gentleman in town that had archives of every, and old barber chairs and things like that. What do you do with them?
we put them on display for during exhibitions, and then lots of people are actually writing books and papers and doing research about the history of Long Beach and utilize materials that we have. Not so much barber chairs, but
well, no, I just remember that was one of the things that you probably don't even have it. I don't know if he gave it to the Historical Society, but there just needs to be a home where we have accumulated the things that talk about the city of Long Beach and how long it's been here. And you have several of the pamphlet books that are out discussing like the old Pike, right?
Yes, we have a series of publications that we've published over the years, and one is about the Pike. 2 other ones tell different stories that people wrote about what they remembered from old Long Beach. And then we also sell photographs, reproductions of historical photographs that people hang on their walls and use in reports. And we try to sell a collection of books about Long Beach beyond what we've published.
Well, I remember that you had a book, or you had an exhibit about the Long Beach Day Nursery because it was 100 years old.
Yeah.
I know that was very successful. And how long does that usually display?
The Day Nursery exhibit was up for a year, and our current exhibit coming out in Long Beach is about the LGBT community in Long Beach, and that exhibit is up for a year as well. And that was a very exciting project.
Oh, yes.
We acquired a lot of new material about the history of LGBT community here, and have pride guides and all kinds of materials about different organizations, and so that
and the
will
changing the changing population of our city.
Yes, doing more and more programming around basically
you
the
had
changing
something
Long
also
Beach.
for the Press Telegram. I mean,
Yes.
just looking at the number of pages from the history of the newspaper would be daunting, you know. But it's nice if you wanted to look up something in the 1940s, you would have it there.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Dennis, what do you do as a board member?
Well, as a board member, my avocation is the theater, and that's what I do for a living. I have the Public Theater of Southern California, and Julie and I have worked together for 6 years now. I think 5, 6 years, yeah. And my role on the board, one of the key things, flagship events that they do is the cemetery tour every October. So for those people
That's very popular.
Yeah, for anyone that's not familiar with it, right around Halloween, they go into the cemeteries here in Long Beach, Sunnyside.
Is this the one on, this is the one on Spring?
On Willow.
On Willow.
Willow, right.
It's on Willow.
Right.
Now
and it's actually 2 cemeteries.
Yeah, 2 there.
Right next to each other.
And you do the whole, both of them?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And every year the historical staff researches some of the grave sites, and they find out the stories of the families and go through the archives of the newspapers and interview people, and they construct a narrative based on that person's life. And then we bring in actors, and that's my job, is we work with the actors and basically bring history to life.
And that particular cemetery, Seaside?
Sunnyside.
Sunny, oh.
Right?
Okay. I should know all of this. I don't. Sunnyside is, when did that start? Because I was recently there, and there were sites that were in the early 1900s.
Yeah, it's a very historic cemetery, and you know, we all are born and we all die. So I think it really does reflect literally the history of Long Beach. And do we know the oldest graves?
I don't know the oldest graves, but I know Sunnyside started in 1907 when the municipal cemetery was getting
1907.
filled.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
municipal cemetery next door was already getting filled, and that's why the
is
private
that right?
foundation cemetery next door started in 1907.
Oh, so they're both historic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I
And
think one of the other really interesting things, I'm obviously being in the theater business, I'm a big advocate of story, and it's sort of how we know who we are. And I applaud the Historical Society, and it's really been my honor to be able to really bring perfect stories to the stage.
life.
Yeah, to life. And some of the interesting things that happen is, you know, the actors will be up performing, and then a family member will come up and say, you know, this was my great-grandfather.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
Yeah, so it's just a lovely tradition, and I'm just proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, most people probably only know Forest Lawn, you know, on San Antonio Drive, because that's in our era more. But I know the one on Willow is just historic, and I know that you do that. So, but you know, the thing that I'll have to admit has bothered me for a long time is that the struggle to keep Historical Society monetarily funded, because it's not paid for by the city. It's paid for by people that donate and participate in some way, volunteering or to keep it alive, because just chronicling what you have is a job in itself. But then to be available to the public, be available to pay the rent, has always been difficult. What do you do for that?
Well, fortunately, we have rent donated from the city.
Okay.
And that was probably 10 years in the making. That
Well, I can remember, I think
situation.
this is the third or fourth location that you've been in since I was aware.
Yes, we've moved a great deal, and that's taken a great deal of resources. So this is a wonderful situation in Bixby Knolls for us. And we have sponsorships to events like the cemetery tour. We offer sponsorships for exhibitions and different programs. But we have members who give money on a regular basis to ensure that we can keep our doors open.
Yeah.
We also get grants that fund certain specific projects.
So the few people you have working there really have many jobs, because you might say, yes, I work with the Historical Society, yeah, but you have to raise funds over here too. So, you know, because that's a constant battle in the town.
Yes, it is.
Well,
And we have wonderful volunteers, and
That's great.
they make it possible as well.
very good. What's the address on Atlantic?
4260 Atlantic Avenue.
4260. And how long have you been with it?
18 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Well, I thank
long
you
time.
very much. Well, tell us what's in the offing. I have a couple more minutes, so.
Well, we're open every first Friday during the Bixby Knolls Arts and Culture Walk, so you can always come and see us during First Fridays. We also will have new exhibitions coming in the new year, including a timeline of Long Beach history that utilizes the newspaper collection. And the cemetery tour is coming up October 26th.
Very good. Well, I have a lot of things that I'm going through. I just love to say here, but they're not that important. But the history of Long Beach is important, and I'm so pleased. And Julie, I know what you've gone through, all kinds of, because a couple of those locations were really not good at all and couldn't show anything. So it was just a matter of storing a few things. Does that place you have now have a basement?
It does.
Oh, good.
It has a fur
Oh,
vault
good.
because it was built as a fur
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, for heaven's
So,
sake.
and when we moved in, it had very few things in it and few racks, and it's full of racks.
Oh.
And the collection's grown a great deal. So the facility has really allowed us to really rescue many collections in the
Very
city.
good. And you can always use more volunteers.
Always.
And you could always use more funds.
Yeah,
Yes.
come on
And-
out to the cemetery tour.
And
It's a
go on
fun
the
day,
cemetery
yeah.
tour. So, or buy some of the booklets if you're really interested in the past. My daughter was researching something from the from the 60s, and she found it right in the newspapers. You know, it was right there in front of her. I was surprised. Well, I thank you very much for being here, and I just feel that what you're doing is so important to our city and to our future. So, because we can understand it better if we know where we came from. Thank you
we
so much,
can.
Julie. Dennis, very nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And how about that? It was nice to have all of you with us too. I hope you've learned something today about our city and the foundations, the things that are happening in the city that you should be aware of, because that's what makes Long Beach great. Thank you very much.